Imagine if you could visit a lost loved one for only a day, and be with them, to hold them in your arms, and to be able to smell their hair. Would you? As I consider this very question while lying in a bunk, the rush of emotion flows through my body and I choke back my tears. I loved her and she was the only person who could make me happy, and now she's gone. Most Grineer are born artificially, born with a purpose to fill, a cog in the giant machine that is the Queen's empire. However, with every experiment there are anomalies, and those that are considered so are sent away, exiled, humiliated in front of a silent crowd, and killed. On the first cycle of the year, 2 anomalies came into being. These, however, were significantly different to the others. Instead of having defected brains and malfunctioned cores, these ones had evolved an extension onto their brains, an extension that the Queens deliberately removed, the hippocampus. This allowed them to think and to reflect, but most importantly, they had emotions. The anomalies managed to escape before being thrown into the incinerator. They made it to Phobos before running out of fuel and decided to build a family. That night, me and my sister were conceived. We were happy. For 25 years, happiness flourished among us, and we cherished every day until that evening. The day when everything was ruined. Me and my sister returned from collecting scraps from the last crashed ship. As we neared our home, we realized it was ablaze. We dropped the nav computer and ran into the flames, but it was too late. My parents had already perished in the collapsed building, and their remains were never found. I was furious. Only now do I realize how foolish I was. I was certain this was the Grenier, and swore revenge as I planned a journey to the nearest outpost and a way of crippling the Grenier operations. My twin sister was the more level-headed individual, and pleaded me to stop, but my rage was too uncontrollable, and on the day I left, she wasn't there for me to bid farewell. The journey to the outpost was painfully silent, and soon insanity set into my brain. Hallucinations of my parents teased me, and sleep was almost impossible. After the first month of the journey, I heard a rustling in the back of my ship. As I opened the door, I saw the beaming face of my sister. She had snuck into the storage while I was leaving and had lived off my rations ever since. She intended on helping me on my endeavor, and I welcomed her into the pilot room. The next 2 years of traveling flew by, and we had finally reached the outpost. As we left the ship in a hidden area of the outpost and disembarked it, we went back over our plans. We were to sneak past the guards by wearing their stolen uniforms and plant explosives on the outpost's core. Everything was going to plan. We had made it past the guardsmen and were standing in front of the core before the alarm went off. I checked the date and confirmed that it wasn't an alarm drill, and as we stared at each other in perplexity, the door opened behind me. As I finally turned around to tell my sister to start planting the bomb, I saw as she gagged on her own blood. A thin blade was piercing her chest, and finally a gaunt person clad in armor materialized out of thin air as if by magic and slid the blade back out of her, letting her slump to the floor. Once more, rage consumed my body. I took out my gun, aimed it at the Tenno, but he easily swept it out of my hand and then slammed his fist into my chest. It sent me flying across the room, and I felt my collarbones shattering. This didn't stop me. I picked myself back up and let out a blood-curdling roar. Everything I had loved had been taken away from me, and this Tenno was going to pay. I charged him with all the strength I could muster and slammed its body. As I sat on top of him, I let my fists onto his body with all of my rage and watched as its complex circuitry shattered beneath my strength. After 5 minutes of pulverizing his body, I passed out, too exhausted for any of my senses to come back to me, and collapsed. When I woke up, I was already under bonds and was groggy after having strong anesthesia. I glanced up at what can only be described as a Grenier scientist and watched as he examines my body and genes. He greeted me kindly and with respect and offered a chance to get back at the Tenno, a chance to gain closure and finally be at peace. Within a blink of an eye, I took it and agreed. The greed and sadness fogged my view of what was right and what was wrong that day. So as I lie here in my bed, I wonder, would I join her for just one day? Because the pain of leaving her again would be 10 times worse than leaving her last night, and I would feel no more fulfilled than I do now. They say I will revolutionize the battlefield. They say that I will finally turn this war in Grenier's favor. They call me manic. What an awesome story. Thank you very much, Mr. Wavier, for sending it in. Please contact me in game so I can give you your platinum. Now, originally, I did not want to make a story contest today because I wanted to take a little bit of a break. But this story was sent to me on the 6th of March, so I finally wanted to make a video for it. So I hope you've enjoyed the story. I certainly did. And if you have your own story that you would like to send in, you can send it to MCGamerCZGiveaway@gmail.com. The title of the email has to be Story Contest, and you have to put in your in-game name and the platform you're playing on at the bottom of the email. If you don't do one of these things, you will be disqualified. And that's it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.